Thank you. I do love my AFP so much. I love it so much. You know, I live in Los Angeles. Many of you know I live in Los Angeles. I live in Sherman Oaks, which is just slightly off to the side from where the giant red eye is up on the hill that looks down over Hollywood and Mordor and casts a shadow where we scurry through the darkness, those 5 or 6 or 7 or 8,000 conservatives that hide out there in Hollywood. But every time I leave Hollywood to come to Texas, it's like getting on the back of the Eagles at the end of the very last moments of Lord of the Rings. You know, you're being flown out to freedom in Texas, and it's a great feeling. So, Americans for Prosperity. I've always thought that was such a great name for an organization because it's pretty self-encapsulating. So what I want to talk about today very briefly is this idea of prosperity, why there's American prosperity, and what these clowns and charlatans are doing to destroy it as fast as they can. Because when you really get down to brass tacks, I think, and you peel away all of the policies and all the labels and everything else, you really do find that there are 2 different kinds of thinking that's going on in America, 2 different kinds of thought processes, and that's what generally divides people up into progressives and conservatives. Now, America has prosperity, and America is a prosperous nation, the most prosperous nation in the history of the world, because Americans are fundamentally rational, sensible, practical people. And the people who are running things now aren't any of those things. And that's why we're getting into real trouble. So what I want to talk about today is this idea of magical thinking. Because when you separate the difference between conservatives and progressives, what you find is a conservative would rather believe what is actually true, even though it's unpleasant, while a progressive would rather believe something that's pleasant, even though it may not be actually true. It's pretty simple, really. And so while we know what reason is, and we know what rationality is, because you're here, what is it about the way that the left thinks that's so damaging to the idea of America? So let's talk about magical thinking. Now, I don't want to talk about wishful thinking, because wishful thinking is something completely different than magical thinking. Wishful thinking is, you come home at the end of the day, let's say, you turn on the TV set, you turn on Fox News, and you've got your remote, and you go, what is this? I don't watch the Golf Channel. What am I doing with the, oh, I'm sorry, it's President Golf Cart. How's it going there, Captain Strategy? Got everything under control? The world wasn't falling apart when Ronald Reagan was president. I remember that much. Would you please just go away? Could you just go away? That's wishful thinking. What's next on this channel? What is that, a safety buoy in orange? Oh, no, that's a pantsuit. That's a triple knit pantsuit. Is it triple knit polyester? What is she doing back here again? No, go away, go away. Why are you doing this? You don't like people, you don't like the country. You're not even good at your job. The 3 a.m. phone call came in Benghazi time. Yeah, Champ dropped the ball, you dropped the ball too. Why are you here? Is it all about Bill? What is it? No, go away, bad touch, do not want. No. I expect every day a psychologist is going to come up to me and say, show me on this anatomically correct doll where Hillary Clinton campaigned at you. And I'll go, here, in a bad place. The kid's obviously psychotic. He's ruined for life. Let's make him president of Organizing for America. So no, that's wishful thinking, wanting him to go away. But that's not what they practice. They practice something different. They practice something called magical thinking. Magical thinking is the idea that if you want something badly enough, and if you believe in it badly enough, you can make it happen. And all of the great murders and tyrannies are based on this kind of magical thinking. All of them. To understand the power of magical thinking, let's take a pretty concrete example. It's got nothing to do with politics. Let's talk about the Loch Ness Monster. Now, a lot of people think there's a monster in Loch Ness. And some people will pay thousands of dollars to go to Scotland and wait to be the person, everybody that goes and visits Loch Ness, I'm telling you, every single one of them thinks that they're going to be the person who's just going to happen to be there at the exact moment when that baby rears its head out, and they're going to snap that quick little selfie with Nessie in the background, and they're going to change the world, and they're going to reveal to everybody, especially you knuckle-dragging conservatives, that there is a reality beyond the veil of reason and logic. There's a hidden world that we all knew was out there, and they're going to be the one to snap that picture. And so magical thinking is what drives the Loch Ness Monster. But magical thinking can be so powerful that it shuts down the rest of your brain. And Loch Ness Monster is a perfect example of this, because even the people that believe in the Loch Ness Monster will tell you that it's a plesiosaur. It's a dinosaur the size of a bus that breathes air. Now, as it turns out, there are in fact in the world creatures the size of buses that breathe air and live in the water, and they're called whales. And we don't have a grainy picture taken in 1963 of a wake 30 miles away that's our best evidence of a whale, because if you want to see a picture of whales, there are thousands of pictures taken every single day of whales. You know why? Because whales are real, that's why. The Loch Ness Monster is an air-breathing reptile, according to the people that believe in the Loch Ness Monster. The Loch Ness Monster, if it breathes air, has to come up and surface and take a breath with that giant snake head 10 times an hour? 10 times an hour. So why do people believe in the Loch Ness Monster when it's obviously not true? As a matter of fact, when you get into progressive policies and you compare them to the Loch Ness Monster, you realize that it's not only unlikely, it's impossible. They believe in an air-breathing dinosaur that never comes up for air. They do. What's wrong? What part of your brain shuts down? Well, for some people, that level of hope and desire overrules everything. It overrides all kinds of rationality. I know I make this joke every time, but God bless you, Marco. It's thirsty work up here. So if you take this idea of magical thinking, the desire that if you just want something bad enough, it'll come true, and understand that that desire shuts down your rational brain, how do we see the magical thinking that the left does in terms of politics in America? Well, it is true you can print money, but what they think is you can print wealth, and you can't print wealth. You can only print money. Money is what you exchange for wealth. If you could print Cadillacs and the raw materials for the Cadillacs, then I'd say print away and give everybody a Cadillac. But you can't, so you can't. Period. Now, it would be nice if you could, but you can't. You cannot print wealth. You can only print money. And the more money you print, the less that money is worth. Pretty straightforward, but the left doesn't believe it. They believe you can just run the presses and just make more wealth for everybody. It's magical thinking. It's not only not true, it's the counter to truth. It's obviously impossible. The left believes that there's such a thing as free health care. If you have open heart surgery, you are employing 4 or 5 of the most highly trained individuals in the state of the world with some of the most advanced technology on the planet. This is free? You could maybe make the case that going to the beach is free, but this costs real money. It costs real money. And as I like to say, if health care were free, I'd be a progressive on health care. What kind of a jerk would you have to be if it was genuinely free to say, no health care for those people? But it's not free. It costs money. And therefore, you have to ask who's going to pay for it. And then you have to ask how it's going to be spent. And the next thing you know, you're a conservative again. Because as P.G. O'Rourke said, if you think health care costs a lot of money now, wait till you see what it costs when it's free. It's magical thinking. You know what else is magical thinking? They do this all the time. It's an effect called mirroring. Mirroring is when you talk about enemies of the United States, people of other cultures, and you assume that they're just like us. If you look at the way progressives think about Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden and nowadays ISIS, you really can find progressives who genuinely think, back before they put the hit on OBL, there are people who actually used to think, you know, if we could just get in a hot tub with Osama bin Laden, have a couple of Chardonnays, we could work this whole thing out. It's just a giant disagreement, really. It's a misunderstanding. It's probably our fault. You know, if we weren't traipsing around in the Middle East, they'd have no reason to want to hate us, and they wouldn't knock our buildings down. That is magical thinking. It denies that these are real people. It denies that they have an agenda. It denies that they have a history. It denies that they have values. They're just reflections of us. And the real reason progressives want to think that these murdering psychopaths are just basically misunderstood people, when you get down to it, is it's a form of psychic release for them. The idea that people are coming to kill you is intolerable to them. And so what they say is, well, they're coming to kill us, but they're coming to kill us because of what we're doing. And if we would just stop doing that, then they won't want to kill us anymore. No. They have an agenda too. Their agenda is a lot older than our agenda. And they're serious about their agenda. So we don't have to get into a hot tub with ISIS and figure out what the misunderstanding between us and the people that saw somebody's head off is. The way you deal with ISIS is you give them about 10 megatons of the bright white light of freedom right over that guy in the orange jumpsuit. Because that is something they would understand. The guy that we're looking for with the knife, where is he? He's indiscernible from the rest of the desert. We don't know where he is. He's part of that puddle of glass we left out there. And that's how you know that we're serious. We understand each other now? You're serious, you cut that guy's head off. We're going to give you the bright white light of freedom. Now we both know we're serious. You still want to play games with us? You still want to play this game? The United States military is designed to destroy tanks. The U.S. military was built to destroy Russian armor and Russian vehicles. That's why it's here. That's why we have all of these vehicles. And ISIS, as opposed to Al-Qaeda that just wanted to set up shadow networks, ISIS is taking territory. ISIS has tanks and armored personnel carriers. There was a joke right after 9/11. It was the first joke made after 9/11. It was an article on The Onion, and it says, U.S. Defense Department to give $500 billion to Al-Qaeda so that they can construct an underground base that we can bomb. But these guys have tanks. One sweep with the J-Stars over the entire Middle East. You guys claim you represent the entire Middle East? That's fine with me. All of Israel, all of the Levant, all of that stuff, fine. One sweep, half an hour, all of your vehicles are gone. You still want to play this game with us? Because we got more missiles where those came from. And the problem is over, but no. That's rational thinking. That's reasonable thinking based on the kind of savagery that these people not only are, but are advertising. That's how you deal with animals. You deal with them like they're animals. One of the things that's a really interesting part of magical thinking is this idea of global warming, that the planet's going to die. I could do an hour on this, but let me just say one thing. Remember how I said the belief in the Loch Ness Monster, the desire to believe in it, shuts your brain down, shuts down your critical abilities? I was watching a documentary. It was probably on ABC, but it was on a major network. And it was hosted by one of the top hosts. Let's say it was Tom Brokaw on NBC, let's say. It was about 2004. And it was advertised as, you must watch this video because if you don't, your family's going to burn to a crisp. This is the crisis of the age. So I decided to tune in. Primetime national network television, the news host, the news anchor for the network is sitting there in front of the Arctic Ocean. And he says in a very, very solemn tone, he says, ladies and gentlemen, the last time that the Arctic Ocean was ice-free in September was 20 million years ago. And my first thought, apparently alone in the country, was, whose SUVs made it ice-free 20 million years ago? Didn't you just say that it was exactly like it is now in crisis time 20 million years ago? I'm no president of the United States, but I think that's older than the United States. Certainly it's older than the Industrial Revolution. What does that mean? What it means is that 20 million years ago, climatic conditions utterly independent caused the Arctic to be unfrozen in September, and now it is again. Therefore, everybody freak out, give us all your money and all your freedom. Where do you go from here? Where do you go from there? And by the way, when he says 20 million years, wow, 20 million years is a long time. Well, 20 million years is a long time. 100 million years is a longer time. 1,000 million years is even longer than that. 4,500 million years is the total age of the Earth, so 20 million years is not really that far back, actually. Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth goes all the way back 600,000 years, which is less than 1% of the total age of the Earth, to make his case. The Earth's climate is a heartbeat. They want to put a pin in it. They want to kill the planet's heartbeat. That's their business, but it doesn't make any sense. And finally, I could do this all day, but finally, I think the ultimate version of magical thinking on the part of progressives is this idea of the coexist bumper sticker. Coexist, coexist. Everybody groans, and the reason they groan, the reason people groan is because they know that wars and conflicts are not, in fact, a problem of understanding, or maybe I'm insufficiently kind. Wars of that kind of magnitude are the result of differing ideologies, cultures, and philosophies that are in direct conflict. So, since we are a peaceful people, and since we do celebrate all kinds of diversity in medicine and poetry and all that stuff, if you want to preserve that, instead of a bumper sticker that says coexist, you probably should put over it a bumper sticker that says United States Marine Corps or National Rifle Association, because that's what's necessary to protect this part of the coexist. They're not driving coexist bumper stickers in Iran, and they don't have coexist bumper stickers in the Crimea where the Russian tanks to go in there with a giant coexist bumper sticker on the back. We're not the only people in this game, you know. We're happy to coexist. Our coexisting isn't the problem. It's those sons of guns that are the problem. So I'm going to ammo up. But the biggest danger of magical thinking is the idea that the government can create wealth, and in fact, the idea that the government is competent. I just got back from Washington State, and on the drive up, I went over a bridge that had collapsed into the river. This bridge had just collapsed into the river, and here's the story of the bridge that collapsed up in Washington State. The bridge collapsed because of mechanical stress to the bridge. It wasn't that the bridge got too old, but the bridge was stressed. And the reason the bridge was stressed, folks, I can't make this up because I'm just not this smart. The reason that the bridge collapsed from mechanical stress was it was struck by vehicles, by trucks, again and again and again. Over the course of 30 years, they think that trucks struck this bridge a couple hundred times, and every time that truck ran into the bridge, it did a little bit of damage to that top support of steel beams. Why did the trucks keep hitting the bridge? Well, because the sign says clearance 11 feet, but the clearance is only 10 feet. Now, I'm willing to allow that a D student who gets a job in government put the wrong sign up on the bridge and a truck hit the bridge. One time. But when 30 years, I'm not making this up, when 30 years go by without changing the sign, and enough vehicles finally hit the bridge so that the bridge collapses into the river, these are not the kind of people I want running my life. It's just that simple. So to get to the brass tacks here, what you have to understand is this with these people. This is the point I want to make today. It's not about saving the planet. It's not about saving poor people. It's not about protecting black people, rights of minorities, and not protecting homosexuals. None of this stuff. That's all a fig leaf for what it really is. What it really is, it's a desire to tell other people what to do and to charge them real money while they're doing it. And if you don't understand that, you're missing the game. It's about control and it's about money on the part of people who could never go out and make money on their own and who have to tell other people what to do. It is much easier to tax a business than it is to run a business. Just that simple. Now, back in the 20th century, when you were talking about controlling people's lives and telling them what to do, they used force. In fact, this kind of thing goes back to the French Revolution. If you didn't agree with the French Revolution and this magical belief that we can create a whole new kind of person who completely gives up on personal ambition and personal needs, then anybody who is not part of that team gets to go to the guillotine and have their head cut off. And if it's not working because we've cut the heads off of all the competent people, well, that means we just have to keep killing until we get it right, because obviously the problem is with these saboteurs and wreckers. And we saw the same thing with the Nazis, and we saw the same thing with the communists. Kill the people and keep killing them until it works. How many times do we have to do this before we stop hearing, well, they didn't do it right, and start thinking, maybe this isn't the greatest idea ever? So, you can't get away with that today. We don't have people with machine guns telling us what to do today. It's much, much simpler than that. We live in the era of the tie-dyed tyranny. We are tyrannized by weenies and eco-freaks and losers of every stripe, and they use two weapons against us. Two. They don't use machine guns or death camps. They use unearned moral superiority, the fig leaf that I'm doing this to save the planet. You don't want the planet to burn. You don't want your kids to die, do you? You don't want black people oppressed, do you? You don't want homosexuals killed, do you? Give me all your power and all your money. Unearned moral superiority makes them feel better and smarter than everybody else. And it makes you want to go along because the social proof, the peer pressure, you don't want to be a bad person, do you? No, of course not. Do what we say. And the other thing they use, that's the left cross, the right uppercut, is fear. Fear. Planet's going to burn. Everybody's going to die. all of these catastrophes are going to happen. When in point of fact, if you have a practical mindset, like the people in here, you realize that if a mistake is made and a vehicle hits the bridge because the sign is wrong, you change the sign and the bridge stays in place. If that bridge belonged to an individual, that's what would have happened. The bridge wouldn't have gone in the river. So the good news in all this is that it doesn't take physical courage to fight these people because they're terrified of guns. We got the guns. Hooray. And they know it. And they know it. So what they have are these weapons of unearned moral superiority combined with a general sense of fear. And what we need in response to that is very simple. We just need moral courage. It's much easier to go to a local meeting or a mayor's meeting or a zoning district meeting and stand up and say, your math doesn't work and you got a bad haircut. It's much easier to say that than it is to go and fight people with actual guns, but that's what it takes. That's why we have to stay in the fight. That's why we have to win elections. Because it's just simply saying the emperor has no clothes. He's got big old jug ears, and he's on the golf course, but he's stark naked, and he is absolutely worthless. And anybody can see it. Well, he's smart. Obama's smarter than George Bush, anyway. Really? George Bush was a supersonic fighter pilot. Barack Obama handed out forms. I'm going to guess that if you took a random citizen off the street and asked them which one they'd be probably more likely to do, I'm going to go with the handing out forms. So it's just that simple, folks. This is the front line in the war against the tie-dye tyranny, against the eco-weenies and the D students and the student council losers and all those other people that just have to tell you what to do. So get out there and stand up to these people, because once you do, it's just astonishing, really, what a bunch of cowards and losers they are. And you just need to call them that. Thanks for coming. I love my Texas. We'll see you next time.